At 0832 on the morning of October 14, 1943, across the rolling, fog-shrouded airfields of eastern England, American bomber crews prepared for a mission that would become one of the bloodiest days in the history of the United States Army Air Forces. The night had left a cold, damp haze over the countryside, and the smell of aviation gasoline clung to the pre-dawn darkness, mingling with a metallic scent of bombs and lubricants as ground crews labored tirelessly since 0400, fueling aircraft, loading bomb bays, checking engines, and verifying instruments. From dozens of bases across East Anglia, the deafening rumble of 291 B-17 flying fortresses starting their engines reverberated across the fields, shaking the frost from grass and freezing the air in vibrating waves. Pilots ran through checklists with rigid concentration, co-pilots verified altimeters and compasses, bombardiers counted bomb loads, gunners test-fired their weapons, and radio operators tuned frequencies to ensure continuous communication. The procedure was familiar, but the dread was new, almost tangible, for every crewman knew they were flying straight into a death trap. At Royal Air Force Polebrook, the 351st Bomb Group prepared 41 B-17s for the raid. Briefings had begun at 0500, and when the intelligence officer drew back the map curtain to reveal the target, Schweinfurt, deep inside Germany, a city whose ball-bearing factories produced over 40% of the Reich's critical supply, the room was thick with groans. A collective understanding of the peril that lay ahead. These factories had been hit once before on August 17th, resulting in staggering losses. 60 bombers downed and 600 men killed or captured. Yet strategic necessity dictated the mission. Ball bearings were vital components for tanks, aircraft, submarines, artillery, and trucks. Without them, German war production could grind to a halt. The crews understood the brutal calculus. Many of their fellow airmen had already paid the price. Their letters never answered, their bunks left empty, the statistics grim. By October 1943, the 8th Air Force estimated a mere 35% chance of survival for men completing the required 25 missions, meaning 2 out of 3 airmen would become casualties. Despite the odds, at 0832, the vast bomber armada took off, engines roaring, propellers slicing the chilly morning air, climbing to 25,000 feet where temperatures plunged to minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit, oxygen masks froze, and even heated suits offered only marginal protection from the extreme cold that numbed fingers and toes and would freeze blood from wounded crew members before aid could be administered. P-47 Thunderbolts, escorting the bombers only part-way into enemy airspace, provided fleeting protection. By 1100 hours over Germany, fuel ran low, and the fighters had no choice but to turn back, leaving the bombers entirely exposed. 4 hours, they would be alone, vulnerable to the full weight of the Luftwaffe, which had been tracking their every move from the moment they crossed the coast. The German response was immediate and devastating. Messerschmitt Bf-109s dived in coordinated waves, approaching head-on from high altitude, their 20mm cannons unleashing concentrated fire at closing speeds exceeding 500 miles per hour, while FW-190s attacked from the flanks, focusing on outboard engines, seeking to cripple the formation. Damaged bombers, falling behind, became magnets for further attacks, swarmed by multiple fighters and destroyed systematically. The Luftwaffe's tactics were brutal and precise. Frontal assaults that limited defensive fire, formation attacks that allowed trailing aircraft to fire on bombers already engaged, and specialized Sturmgruppen equipped with heavy armor and 30mm cannons, closing to within 50 yards to maximize destruction. Bombers exploded midair, engines erupted in flames, fuselages were torn apart, and crews fought to survive as the sky filled with falling debris and parachutes. Yet amidst the slaughter, some airmen bailed out, only to be captured immediately or perish during descent, from parachute failure or in freezing waters. By 1540, P-47 Thunderbolts returned for partial escort, finally shifting the odds and driving off remaining attackers. Yet even then, some bombers fell to the ground within sight of England, so close yet tragically out of reach. The cost was staggering. 60 bombers lost in action, another 17 damaged beyond repair, 650 men killed, wounded, or missing. The raid was immediately dubbed Black Thursday, the single deadliest mission in the 8th Air Force's history. While the Schweinfurt factories were hit and production temporarily dropped 34%, stockpiles and imports from neutral countries quickly offset the loss, revealing the limited strategic effect compared to the human toll. This sobering reality underscored the lethal inadequacy of unescorted daylight bombing. Existing fighters, the P-47 and P-38 Lightning, could not provide sustained protection at high altitudes deep in Germany. The Thunderbolt's range was insufficient, and the Lightning suffered catastrophic engine and control failures above 25,000 feet. The doctrine of the self-defending bomber formation, with its tight combat box and overlapping fields of fire from 13 guns per B-17, proved mathematically elegant but disastrously inadequate against the experienced and innovative Luftwaffe, which had spent 4 years perfecting high-altitude interception tactics over Britain, the Eastern Front, and now against the Americans. In this context, the development of a long-range, high-performance escort fighter became critical. North American Aviation responded in 1942, designing an entirely new fighter in just over 3 months at British insistence, initially equipped with the Allison engine, which performed well at low altitudes but was underpowered at 25,000 feet. A crucial recommendation from Rolls-Royce test pilot Ronald Harker to install the Merlin engine transformed the aircraft into a high-speed, high-altitude, long-range fighter, the North American P-51 Mustang. The Merlin-powered Mustang could reach over 440 miles per hour at 30,000 feet, climb faster than German aircraft, and, with drop tanks, escort bombers to Berlin and back, with enough fuel to engage in sustained combat. Delivered to the 354th Fighter Group in England by November 1943, the Mustang immediately proved its superiority, engaging German fighters over France in December and rapidly winning airmen's trust. Its performance revolutionized the air war. Bomber losses plummeted as Mustangs provided continuous escort to deep penetration missions, culminating in the March 4, 1944 raid on Berlin, where 730 bombers, escorted by 800 fighters, mostly P-51s, reached the target and returned with minimal loss, destroying 69 German fighters in the process. The arrival of the P-51 fundamentally changed Allied strategy, enabling true strategic daylight bombing and finally tipping the balance in the skies over Europe. The story of Black Thursday, the Schweinfurt raids, and the emergence of the Mustang illustrates the harrowing courage of American airmen, the deadly precision of German defenses, and the technological ingenuity that ultimately reshaped the course of the air war, proving that survival and victory required not only bravery and tenacity but the right machine to match the challenges of modern aerial warfare.